That's the compound effect. The repair changes the snap, not the other way around. But because your nervous system finally believes that if it slips, you will catch it. The gap between the snap and the apology can shrink. After the third or the fourth repair, your partner starts to trust the pattern. Why do we continue to snap at the person we love the most? This is something I've struggled for a very long time. You see, I've been the person who walked through the door and took something out on my wife that had absolutely nothing to do with her. And this happened far too many times. But what really opened my eyes was realizing that I wasn't the only one. In relationship forums online, this question comes up constantly. And in my own life, just during conversations with my friends and colleagues, I cannot tell you how many times someone will sit down and say, geez, I don't know why, but I keep snapping at the person I love the most. This was so damn prevalent everywhere. People in their first relationship asking about it, people 30 years into a marriage asking about it, people snapping at their kids, at their parents, at their closest friends. It's same pattern, just different door. And the answers people were getting were kind of like, just try and communicate better, or ooh, maybe you need therapy. Maybe you guys are just not compatible with each other. You see, none of that explains what's actually happening in the nervous system when you snap. And I can tell you, after spending over a decade working one-on-one with people in high-pressure situations, this pattern showed up everywhere. Not just in romantic relationships, in athletes, in teams, in families, in every relationship where one person felt safe enough to stop performing. And if you don't understand the mechanism, it becomes very challenging for you to change the pattern. So, let me show you what's really going on.
Hey, I made you some food. I know you've had a long day.
Huh? Why did I just... She didn't do anything. I want to start with a scenario that might feel a little too familiar. So picture this. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. There's no alarm, there's no rush. Weather is fantastic. Your partner looks over and asks, hey babe, when you have a chance, can you take out this garbage, please? It's just a simple innocent question, right? But something inside you detonates. Not just a little irritation. This is a full-on snap. And you watch yourself do it, sort of like you're standing outside of your own body almost. And the part that hurts the most is that this is the person you love most in the world. The one you do anything for, right? But in that moment, they got the worst version of you, unfortunately. And here's what makes this even harder, is the fact that you know it was wrong. Before the words even finished leaving your mouth, you felt that sinking feeling in your chest, that sense of guilt, right? But instead of apologizing right away, many of us choose to double down. We try to defend the snap. We try to justify it. We try to minimize it, or just go silent and pretend it never happened. This isn't a one-time thing. If we're being honest with each other here, this is a pattern. The safest person in our lives keeps getting our most dangerous reaction. So why? Why does the person who loves us the most get our worst? Perhaps a lot of us just chalk it up to stress. Well, I had a rough week and that I was just tired. But here's the thing. It was a Saturday morning, right? There was no rough day to blame. So something else is going on. There is a mechanism running beneath this that most of us have never been shown. And once you see it, you will recognize it in almost every argument you've ever had. Now, I understand that there are a lot of reasons people snap at the ones they love. It could be attachment style, it could be boundary issue, or it could be control, right? We'll get to all of those in this channel later, but today, I want to go deep on the one that's the most common and the least understood. So let's get into it. John Gottman spent over 40 years studying couples, thousands of relationships observed in real time, and he found something that changed the entire field. The couples who were the harshest with each other were not the ones who loved each other less. They were the ones who felt the most safe. Now that sounds completely backwards, right? But your nervous system doesn't work the way you think it does. You see, throughout your day, you're wearing a mask. For example, at work, you're composed. With strangers, you're polite. In public setting, you hold it together, right? But here's the thing. That composure takes a lot of energy, and your brain is keeping running tab on all of that. Every frustration you swallowed, every moment you smiled when you wanted to scream, your brain tracks all of that, and it's looking for a safe place to release it. Psychologists call this displaced aggression. Bushman and colleagues studied this, and what they found was people don't necessarily release frustration on the person who caused it. Instead, they release it on the person they trust will not leave. Think about that for a second now. Your partner isn't getting your worst because they did something wrong. They're getting your worst because your nervous system has tagged them as safe enough to receive it. But it gets even deeper. Daniel Goleman describes something called the Amygdala Hijack. This is basically when the emotional center of your brain overrides the rational part. And it happens in milliseconds, faster than you think. So your partner asks you to take out the garbage, but your brain doesn't process it as a simple request. Instead, it processes it as a demand on a system that's already depleted. And your amygdala fires a threat response before your prefrontal cortex even has a chance to say, whoa, wait, that was a reasonable thing to ask. This is why the snap feels so involuntary, because in that moment, it kind of is. Your conscious mind didn't choose that reaction, your nervous system chose it for you. Now, here's where it connects to something bigger. Dan Siegel talks about the window of tolerance. This is basically the zone where you can handle stress, process emotions, and respond thoughtfully. When you're inside that window, you can hear your partner's request and just say, yeah, sure, I'll take out the garbage. But when you're outside the window, when the day has pushed you past your capacity, every input becomes a threat. And people closest to you becomes the easiest targets. Not because they deserve it, but because your nervous system has classified them as a one place where the mask can finally come off. So, let's be really clear about something here. The snap is not about the garbage. The snap is not about being a bad partner. The snap is your nervous system treating safety as a place to dump what you couldn't process all day. And the person who created that safety for you gets punished for it. You see, that is the value behavior gap right there. We say we love them more than anyone, but we treat them worse than anyone. Not because we're terrible people, but because we never learn to process what we carry before we bring it home. So, what do we do with this? Now that we can see the mechanism, how do we actually change it? Okay, well, here's the pivot. And I want to give us something real. Not just like communicate better or take a deep breath or something we can actually use starting tonight. So, beautiful pivot number 1. The threshold pause. Before you walk through your front door, stop. Take 3 seconds, one question. What am I carrying right now that doesn't belong to the person on the other side of this door? You gotta name it. It'll be something like, I'm carrying frustration that has nothing to do with my partner. And there's a reason why this works. Ethan Kross is a psychologist who studies what happens when people create even a brief moment of distance from their emotions. He calls it self-distancing. And his research shows that when you pause and name what you're feeling, even for a few seconds, your brain shifts from reacting to observing. And that shift, that is the difference between your emotion driving you and you driving them. So, those 3 seconds at the door, it's not just a nice idea, it's a neurological interrupt. It gives your prefrontal cortex a chance to catch up to the amygdala. When you name it, you take ownership of it, and now your partner doesn't have to absorb what was never theirs. 3 seconds, one question before the door opens. Beautiful pivot number 2. Build your window back before you get home. If the window of tolerance shrinks throughout the day, you need something before you walk in that expands it. It could be 10 minutes of silence in your car, or maybe a 5 minutes walk around the neighborhood, or even just 60 seconds with your eyes closed. And this isn't just some common sense, by the way. Herbert Benson at Harvard studied what he called a relaxation response. And what he found was that even 60 to 90 seconds of deliberate physiological deactivation triggers your parasympathetic nervous system. That's basically the system responsible for rest and recovery. So, in plain language, when you close your eyes for 60 seconds and let your body settle before walking through the door, you are literally recharging the battery that Siegel's window of tolerance runs on. You're not just wasting your time in the car, you see. You are rebuilding your capacity to be the partner you actually want to be. This isn't some luxury, guys. This is maintenance, all right? So now, those two pivots are about prevention. They help you before the snap happens, right? But let's be really honest with each other here. There are going to be nights where you skip the threshold pause, where you don't rebuild the window, where you just walk in depleted and the snap happens anyways. So, what do you do then? Beautiful pivot number 3. Repair and repair fast. This is the one I want to go deep on because Gottman's research is clear. The difference between couples who make it and couples who don't is not that the healthy couples stop fighting. Oh no, they fight plenty. The difference is the speed of repair. But here's where it gets really interesting. Ed Tronick is a developmental psychologist who ran one of the most famous experiments in the field. It's called the still face experiment. He studied what happens between mothers and infants when the connection breaks and then gets repaired. And what he found changed how we understand all relationships, not just parent and child, all relationships. You see, Tronick found that when a rupture happens and is being repaired, the bond doesn't just go back to where it was, it actually gets stronger. Let me say that again. The relationship after repair is more resilient than a relationship where the rupture never happened. So that means the snap you had last night, if you repair it properly, it doesn't just bring your relationship back to baseline, it can actually make the connection between you and your partner more secure than it was before. That's counterintuitive, right? But the research is clear. Rupture without repair erodes trust. Yeah, okay, that's for sure. But rupture with repair builds it. So, let me walk us through what repair actually looks like. Because repair faster is easy to say, doing it is a different thing altogether, right? Here's what's going to happen the first time you try this. So you snap, and you know you snapped, and then every part of you is going to want to do one of these 3 things. You're going to want to defend it. Hey, well, you shouldn't have asked me like that. Or maybe you're going to want to minimize it. Hey, come on, it wasn't even that bad. Or maybe you just want to go to another room and wait until the tension fades on its own, right? Do not do any of those. Here's what you do instead. You walk back. Not in 20 minutes, not after the mood passes, within 60 seconds of the snap. And I know what you're thinking. 60 seconds. I'm still angry at 60 seconds. Well, good. That's the point. You don't wait until you feel calm to repair. You repair while the discomfort is still in your chest. Because that's what rewires the pattern. You walk back, you look them in the eyes, and you say something like this. Hey babe, that wasn't about you. I brought something home that I should have dealt with before I walked through the door. I'm sorry. Now, here's what makes this sentence work. It does 3 things at once. It tells your partner the snap wasn't their fault. It takes ownership without making excuses. And it names the real source, which is what you were carrying, not what they did. But I need to prepare you for something. The first few times you try this, it's gonna feel terrible. Because your ego is gonna scream at you. You see, walking back to someone you just snapped at while you're still activated feels like losing, right? Feels like weakness. But it's not. It's the strongest thing you can do in a relationship. Because you're telling your nervous system something it's never heard before. You're telling it that, hey, we don't run from this, we walk back. And here's the thing. your partner might not receive it well the first time. They might just say, yeah, okay, whatever, Jason. And then they just might walk away. And they might still be hurt, unfortunately. And that's okay for now. Because you see, the repair isn't about getting immediate resolution. It's about planting a flag. It's about saying, I see what just happened, and I'm not going to pretend it didn't. Remember what Tronics research showed us, right? The repair doesn't need to be perfect to work. It just needs to happen. Even a clumsy repair, even one that doesn't fully resolve the moment, still tells your partner, hey, I came back. And that single act begins to rebuild the trust. Even if the conversation doesn't resolve that night, something shifts in that space between you. Because your partner just witnessed something rare. Someone who snapped and came back. Not an hour later, not the next morning, right away. And here's what happens when you do this consistently. See, this is the part most people never get to because they quit after the first few awkward attempts. But after the third or the fourth repair, your partner starts to trust the pattern. They start to see the snap as a moment, not as who you are. See, your nervous system starts to learn something new too. It learns that repair is available. That you don't have to live in this guilt spiral for hours. The gap between the snap and the apology can shrink. And over weeks, something remarkable happens. The snap themselves starts getting smaller. Not because you forced yourself to be calm, but because your nervous system finally believes that if it slips, you will catch it. That's the compound effect. The repair changes the snap, not the other way around. And that's Tronics' insight playing out in real time. Every rupture you repair doesn't just fix the damage, it makes the foundation stronger. You're not just maintaining a relationship, you're building one that can hold more weight than it could before. So, let me give us a simple frame for tonight. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to prevent every snap. You just need to do one thing. Close the gap between the snap and the repair. That's where the pivot lives. If the gap is an hour right now, make it 30 minutes. If it's 30 minutes, make it 10. If it's 10, let's make it 60 seconds. Each time you shrink that gap, you're not just fixing a moment. You are rewriting the story of your relationship. From we fight and it lingers, to we fight but we come back to each other fast. If you recognize yourself in this video, if you've been the one who snaps or the one who receives it, I want to encourage you to share this with that person. Or better yet, watch it together. Because this conversation changes everything when both people understand what's actually happening beneath the surface. And to help you start that conversation, I've pinned a comment below with a few discussion questions. Whether it's you and your partner, you and a close friend, or a small group even, those questions will make it easier. And hey, if your situation feels more specific than what we covered today, drop a comment. I mean, if it's okay with you, please tell us what you're dealing with. Because I'm in the comments every week, and if your story can teach us something too, I might build a follow-up video around it. So I can learn something from you, and we can all grow together here, right? That's the whole point. Okay, so now, you understand why your safest person gets your worst reaction. But here's what I want you to think about. What happens when that same mechanism turns inward? When someone pays you a compliment and you cannot receive it, but someone throws an insult and it stays with you for weeks. Same nervous system, same pattern, different direction. That's next. We are beloved. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next one.